Hi everybody, welcome back to another SUPboarder video. In this video I'm going to talk to you about why paddleboards vary in price so much, especially iSUPs. If you've bought an iSUP this summer or you've been looking at an iSUP recently, they vary a lot in price point. From 150 to right up to £1,200 dollars or euros. You've got a big price point difference there. In this video, I'm going to be speaking to you about why those price differences occur and really what sort of things you should be looking out for to make sure you get the best value SUP for you. Because after all, at the end of the day, it'd be ideal to have a really expensive paddleboard and the top end equipment whenever we can get out on the water. But for some of us, that's just not realistic. The most important thing is you do get out on the water for the best value equipment that you can afford. So in this video, I'm going to split it down into a few sections. I'm going to be talking about the manufacturing process. I'm going to be talking about direct sell or from a shop. I'm going to be talking about the accessories you get around the board, the package, the pump, the leash, the paddle, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to be talking about the board design itself and the inflation pressure maybe the board takes and the longevity, the lifespan of the board as well. Hopefully giving you a good understanding about all those will help you make the best buying choice to making sure you can buy the best value SUP you can afford. Okay, so starting off with the manufacturing process. The first thing you're going to be looking at is the materials that are going in and on your paddleboard, whether it is an inflatable paddleboard or a hard composite paddleboard. You are going to find that better quality materials, this is the same with anything pretty much in any industry, better quality materials that are stiffer, lighter, stronger, last longer, they are going to be more expensive to buy at source. So if you look at an inflatable paddleboard, for instance, the PVC that holds the board, it gives it the outer shell. The more expensive boards are going to be made with better quality PVCs that will last longer, that are lighter in general and will give you more of a stronger outer shell to that board as well. Looking inside the paddleboard, again looking at the inflatable paddleboard, you have an internal material called drop stitch, which is the standard stuff that all paddleboards have, but they do vary a lot depending on how much money the brand has put into that paddleboard at the manufacturing process. The nylon strands which hold the board sort of from top to bottom and give it that rigid form, basically make up the drop stitch material, they can change a huge amount in the quality of the strands themselves. Some being stronger, some being weaker, some being lighter, heavier. All these things are put into the equation in the manufacturing process. So materials are a massive part to play in the quality of your board. Quick overview on composite boards, obviously you could be looking at carbons, glass fibers, the resins, all this sort of stuff, lighter, stronger. It's the same as the inflatable paddle boards. The better, more expensive boards will generally have better quality materials in the first place. Then on from there is what you do with those materials. How do they bond them together? How do they stick them together? The process that they do to make those paddleboards in general. In the iSUP world, a lot of you might be aware of the term sort of welded seams, or you hear terms like laminate, fusion. All these sort of words are being thrown around in a few different brands. The two basic things that a lot of inflatable paddleboards are coming across these days is whether the materials are glued together or whether they are heated together. If you are heating two materials together, you're basically breaking them down and sticking them together as one. Therefore, you're going to get a better bond and you're going to reduce the weight because you're not putting glue into those to stick those two materials together. An older or a cheaper brand or an older factory that's using older processes will still be sticking the two layers together with a layer of glue. And obviously then you've got human potential error because you've got to put a certain amount of glue on, which can change the weight and obviously the longevity of the board. So the manufacturing process, again, how you put stuff on the board, how you stick the board, how your glass fibers and carbons go on the board, if you're looking at a composite board, all of that makes a massive difference at the factory and making sure the factory is doing a good job, which leads nicely on to the quality of the board when it is finished. Now, this is a big point that you will notice between a cheaper price point board to a moderate price right up to the expensive top end boards. The better boards will have a much higher level of quality finish when they come out of that factory. The glue marks, you won't see them. The deck pads will be nicely stuck down. Everything will be in its place. There won't be fins that are maybe stuck on backwards. There's loads of stuff which can go wrong in the manufacturing process. The reason more expensive brands have a better quality product is because there is either somebody at the factory looking at those products as they're coming out the door, making sure everyone meets a certain standard, or maybe they have certain processes in place where they have a certain tick list that everything has to be checked before the board comes out. Cheaper boards, again, this is a general thing, but cheaper boards, generally, definitely the rock bottom price point ones, they are going to be more quickly pushed out the door quicker. There's less processes in place to make sure the quality stays up, because after all, there's less people maybe they're paying to work on those boards, and the service on those boards isn't as high as the more expensive or the moderately priced boards. So that overall finish, the quality is a really big point to play, and that's a big telltale when you're seeing a board and seeing the quality. Even if you don't know the price point, you can guess how much that board will probably cost just by looking at the overall finish. Before we move away from the manufacturing process, the other thing you will notice when you pick a board up is generally better quality boards, because they've had better quality materials and the process is put into the manufacturing. They are a lighter board as well. It's easier to make a board that's heavier with lots of material and lots of glue and stick it together, but it's harder to get that board reduced in weight to get it exactly the way it should be. So a lot of times if you're picking up a more expensive board, even if it's got the same amount of material layers in it as a cheaper board, will be lighter than that cheaper board because the manufacturing process is better, more refined finish overall. And the last thing that happens in the manufacturing process is when the board gets packed up, rolled away, stored in its bag, ready to be shipped and picked up by us, is how it is packed up. Is it wrapped up in plastic? Has it got polystyrene around it? Are the fins covered with small little, I don't know, plastic little bubble floats that stop the fins from bending? Or is it wrapped in paper? Is there cardboard involved? Are there other materials that are easily recycled or recyclable materials that are being wrapped around that board, so when you are unpacking it, you can recycle that waste easily? That stuff, unfortunately, and it's horrible to see, costs more money. It is cheaper and easier to roll plastic around your board, tape it up with a plastic strap, put it in a plastic bag, put it in its bag and in a box, than it is to make all of that out of cardboard, paper, recyclable stuff. So that's another telltale and another thing you will buy into by buying a more expensive board. Now, before I go to the next point, I will highlight that this is a general rule. There are going to be certain brands that will buck the trends or will fit in different categories and try and do different things. This is generally what you will find for the cheaper price point boards. The job for you to do and for us to do is to highlight the good ones that sort of fit in lower price points or higher price points, but really do something slightly different from everybody else. And that's really, again, what this video will hopefully help you highlight when you are shopping to buy a board. So when you are shopping to buy your board, you're either going to be buying it from a direct sale brand or you're going to be buying it through a shop or retailer. The shop or retailers means it's generally more than one place to buy a certain brand. The direct sale is usually you only have one place to buy that brand or that board, and it is really only available online. You can't physically go to somewhere to talk to somebody face to face, maybe demo the equipment, get a little bit more of a human interaction with somebody physically there. There are different levels of direct sell brands. The rock bottom basic level, which is always the cheapest board you can find online, is probably the Amazon style board, $150. You've got no phone number, you've never heard of the brand before, buy it now, it gets delivered, and that's all the service you get. That is a direct sell as cheap as you can get. The downsides to those obviously is you haven't got any sort of interaction with any people. If you've got any warranty problems, if your board breaks, you might not be able to get hold of the company. You might be dealing with Amazon maybe to get that board warranted. Obviously they don't paddleboard, they don't know what's in warranty, what a board should and shouldn't do. So you've got a few things you're going to have to juggle for that price point, thinking about buying that cheap board. Is it worth it if something goes wrong? Going up from there, still a direct sell brand. You've got bigger brands now that a lot of you are probably very aware of on the market that are definitely still direct sell, but there is people you can pick up the phone and speak to. There are paddleboarders at the end of the line. They can sort out warranties quicker. They have got better customer service, and a lot of you maybe are doing internet, website, Facebook searches, are getting feedback from other paddlers about that brand. That's definitely the brands I'm going to push you into to start with if you can, because you're going to get a better quality product from them straight away. Because if they don't make a better quality product, everybody starts shouting about it, and you're soon going to know that's not the brand to buy into. So they're the first step of direct sell that I would advise you getting in and getting away from the rock bottom price point boards. But obviously, if you can't afford it, those rock bottom price point boards are there. So direct sell, you've got a few different areas. You've got the rock bottom and you've got the moderate price direct sell that do have customer service, that have got good feedbacks online, and they very much are going towards more of that sort of retail outlet if they can. So what I mean by that, the retail side of the industry is where boards are available at lots of locations, or even one shop that you can physically go to. The great advantage of this, you can see somebody, you can talk to somebody, you can get their advice, you can get their tips, you can try the board before you buy it maybe. If you have any problems with the board, you can go back and maybe see that same person, or you can phone them up. You've already seen them, so you have a very much more rapport with that person, and you definitely get stuff sorted out, or warranty potential problems, much quicker like that than you would do with definitely the rock bottom price direct sell brand, or even the moderately priced direct sell brand. Being able to see and talk to somebody does have a massive impact to actually getting something done. The reason that the price points vary so much with this is obviously when you have a direct sell, a rock bottom price point board, and then you have a direct sell moderately price point board, and then you have a retail sold more expensive price point board, you can see there's more people that need to take a slice of the cake out of this paddleboard price. Let's say the direct sell maybe comes straight from the factory, straight to Amazon. There's a small bit of money that goes to Amazon for selling it, but the rest of it goes to the factory. That's your rock bottom price. Your direct sell, but through more of an established moderately priced board, there is a little bit more money going to the people maybe designing the boards, on the phone talking to you. So there's a bit more money involved. The full retail established boards with lots of retailers maybe around the world, there's obviously more margin there. The shop needs to make a bit of money. The distributor in that country needs to be making a bit of money. The main brand needs to make a bit of money. And obviously the factory makes a bit of money as well. So there's lots of people that are going to take a slice out of that cake, which means if you do have a problem, you're going to get more chance of getting it sorted out because there's more people in that chain to help you sort it out. So direct sell and retail or shop, there's lots of different levels of it. Rock bottom to the retail network of shops. The retail network of shops, you're always going to get the best service. You're always going to see get the best tips and advice, and you're going to have as much demo as possible if they've got boards in stock. And the rock bottom one is the cheapest price point, but you're never going to get as much service. The direct sell with a bit more backing it is the bit in the middle that a lot of you are going for if you cannot afford the more expensive boards at the market. Okay, the next one is board shape and design. Another big point here which changes the price of your paddleboard a lot. A company, a brand, a factory, whoever it is that has designed that board, if they are more aware and they are paddling and they have people paddling and designing the boards for a certain rider in a certain conditions or a certain discipline, there's more time gone into that board. There's more thought and process gone into making that board right. Therefore, the board is going to be a better suited to certain people because they've designed that board for them. The cheaper rock bottom boards are usually copies of a few-year-old boards shape-wise, so they're not as refined. Maybe they've copied the shape, but they don't really understand why the shape it is. The thickness, the width, the nose shape, the tail shape, it all comes into play. Therefore, a couple of years ago, we could easily see that the real rock bottom price boards were copied off of 5-year-old shapes from the more expensive boards, but now the more expensive boards have moved on way more, making the boards more stable, faster, easy to pump up, maybe easier to surf if you're looking at a composite board. There's big changes there. So the cheap price point boards, the rock bottom price point boards, let's say, are generally older shapes. No real R&D goes into them. They're just copied off of other boards. The moderate price to expensive price, that is a big thing of where R&D comes into play. The more people that are riding it, testing it, designing it, the more time that's gone into it, the more reason, the why the shape it is, just costs money. So if you're looking for a specialist board, touring, racing, surfing, fishing, whitewater, yoga, fast cruising, these sort of shapes, you're going to be really trying to push yourself to a better known brand. There's going to be more research, there's going to be more design, there's going to be more testing involved in those boards. If you are looking for a bulk standard all-round SUP that just gets you on the water, play about with a family, maybe do a bit of sunbathing, well, that cheap price point board is probably going to do it, because it's the same shape as probably a more top-end board was 4 or 5 years ago. But bear in mind, you still do get a nicer all-round paddleboard if you can afford it, but definitely more specialist boards you're going to be worth putting more money into. A really good thing to see is if you go on you see your cheap price point paddleboard and there's only one board in the range. That's it, one board. There isn't any others. You know that there isn't much design around those boards, because usually if a design team's come in to make a series of boards or a board, they'll usually make 3 or 4 different sizes, different lengths, different widths, different thicknesses to offer a bit more of across the board for different riders. So straight away you can see if a brand's put more time in to designing their boards, if there's more boards for you available to buy as well. Another point that goes in with board design is board stiffness and recommended PSI pressure. A really easy telltale to tell if that brand or the factory that's selling those boards has properly researched and tested their boards. If you see a recommended PSI pressure, which is the internal pressure that they recommend paddleboards go up to, pounds per square inch, if you see it's recommended 12 to 13 psi, 12 to 15 psi, that's still pretty low, to be honest, in the paddleboard scale right now. Most paddleboards are recommended 15 to 18 psi. Really good paddleboards are recommended 18 to 22, 25 psi. Now, the reason it's a little bit of a telltale is because it shows to us that brand is not happy for you to pump your board up to 20 psi. Maybe you guys will never pump your board up to 20 psi. That's not really the point. The point is, if you have got a paddleboard that you could pump up to 20 psi, you know that brand has researched and designed and developed a board that can take the pressure. Therefore, the manufacturing process is better, the glues, the materials, everything they've put in that board is better. They've tested that board to a higher level. I mean, some brands we know test their boards up to extreme PSI pressure over several days before they even come out to you to your door. So there is a large chunk of time and effort and design process and quality before it leaves the factory right there and then. The cheap price point boards, they slap a badge on it, 13 psi, because it's a comfortable number. Of course the board will take 13 psi, it'll probably take 18 psi, but do they want to back that up with a warranty? Probably not. So it's a really quick telltale. What PSI do they recommend? Even though you might not be ever going to that PSI level, it's always good to buy into a board with a higher recommended PSI level if you can. I hope you're following this and it's making sense. Another one you can look at when you're going to buy your paddleboard, maybe even before you see your paddleboard, good thing you can do online is see what accessories the board comes with. Bag, the pump, the leash, the paddle, those are really key things to see if a brand is putting, again, design, manufacturing process, all the things I've spoken about before in a good quality package. So first off, the bag, really cheap price point boards. Well, they might even come with a bag, but most of them come with some sort of stuffed sack of something, maybe a single shoulder strap. Might be absolutely fine for carrying 10 feet from the car to where you're going to pump your board up, or just leaving it in the car, I don't know. But if you are wanting to carry your board any distance, you're going to want to have a bag that are better quality. So if you're looking for a board with a padded shoulder straps, padded backpack area, a waist strap, a chest strap, all these things, if you see that on a package, you know that straight away a lot more design processes, a lot more manufacturing, a lot more quality. Everything's gone into that more at the factory end. Just by looking at that bag, you can tell that's a better price point package. A leash, most leashes are generally okay. You've always got to wear a leash, always got to have a leash in your package. There are videos that we're going to start to highlight. Definitely you might want to make sure you've got the right type of leash, whether it's a quick release leash, but that's really a conversation for a different time. Definitely leashes should all come as standard with your boards. If they do not come as standard with your boards, then it's either maybe an optional extra on the website, but if it's not standard and not there and they haven't even spoken about it, just stay away from that brand altogether. They do not know what they're going on about, and they need to supply their boards with a leash as a minimum, and if they really know what they're doing, it's a leash and a quick release leash as well. So if they don't come with a leash, really I think as a package or aware of where you can buy a leash maybe from them separately, so they're sort of adding it on, don't look at that brand. I think that needs to come a standard with a leash. Definitely if it's an overall package with a paddle and all that sort of stuff as well. Yeah. Next thing is the pump. Pump's another really easy telltale. The pump is worth putting money into, because at the end of the day you are going to have to be pumping this board up all the time. More expensive packages, more well-known boards, moderate price point boards opposed to the cheap ones, they're going to come with better known pumps. They're going to come with pumps from main brands like Bravo, GRI. They're two really well-known brands that a lot of top boards will buy them in just to put in their package. Two-way pumps, bigger pumps, stirrup pumps, pumps that have pressure gauges built in up to 29 opposed to 15 or something. These are all going to make pumping easier, and they're going to show that the pump is designed to take that pressure. But obviously these are talking inflatable paddleboards here with pumps. You wouldn't be getting these with a composite board. So pump is another telltale. Look at what quality pump it is. Do you know what brand it is? Do they speak about the pump, or do they just say high pressure pump? You know, that's the sort of stuff you need to start reading into as well. Last one is the paddle. That's a really good one to look at again. Are they aluminium? Are they glass fiber? Are they carbon shafts? The plastic, the blades could be plastic. They could call it plastic nylon. Are they a carbon nylon? Are they glass nylon? Which basically means, are they a glass shaft with a plastic nylon blade? No doubt the better quality boards and packages are going to come with glass nylon or plastic paddles opposed to aluminium plastic and plastic paddles, blades, sorry, because aluminium paddle will work, it will get on the water, you will get into paddleboarding, but over time I'll guarantee it will bend. It will bend, it will take its shape, and it won't go back. Therefore, if it's adjustable, you might not be able to adjust it all the way, or you might even be able to take it apart if it's a three-piece paddle. Glass fiber and carbon does bend, but it goes back to its original form. So big price point different there for the factory and the brands. If you're buying a glass paddle, it's going to cost more to put in the package in the first place. Again, that's why the price of your boards goes up. And the last thing is fixtures and fittings, the bungee systems, how they're put onto the board. There's only stainless D-rings where the bungees are attached. It's sort of quite hard to tell if you can't see a good picture of the boards, but you're going to find all of those fixtures and fittings are better on moderate to expensively priced boards than the cheap price point boards. And also it's worth talking about the fins. I've seen some shocking cheap price point fin systems. I've seen a lot of people leave the beach with 3 fins and come back with 1 because the fins just haven't stayed attached, or the fin system's rubbish, or it's, you know, you need to get into a better fin system, a US box fin system, a slide-in clip fin system. The other one is a quick fix fin system. There's a lot of fin systems that you'll see in a lot of brands. When you start researching, they'll have the same fins. They're generally okay to buy into, and they are definitely the more moderate to expensively priced paddleboards. The cheaper ones will have some of those fins, but they might also have some of their own fin systems which they've made as well, which, trust me, I don't think they'll last very long. And that leads us nicely onto warranty and the longevity of these boards. If you're buying a paddleboard and it's a cheap rock bottom price point, but after a year it snaps in half, or it gets a hole in it and it deflates and comes apart at the seams and ends up in the dump, that is not helping anyone. You've got to make sure, if you can, buying into a cheap price point, but something that's going to last a bit of time as well. Again, you can tell that by the warranty, what sort of warranty they offer. A lot of brands are offering 2-year warranties now. Some are offering extended 5-year warranties. Some are offering repair services after 2 years. So there's lots of that you can look into as well to understand if the brand is putting a lot of trust in the boards they make to make sure that they're not going to have problems and basically can cost them money in the future. Warranties are a really good point. So if you are going to buy a cheap price paddleboard, let's just really hope it lasts a long time as well, because that's the most important thing, to keep that waste down. Because after all, if you're looking at paddleboards now, whether it's a composite paddleboard with a foam core, glass fiber or carbon on the outer, or an inflatable paddleboard, it's basically plastic. Everything's plastic. Keep it going as long as possible. Obviously, longevity is a really big point there. So there we go, there's loads of information there about why paddleboards vary in price so much. Whether you're looking at a composite paddleboard, an inflatable paddleboard, there's lots of brands that are sort of doing and changing the market. Maybe they've started a rock bottom direct sale, but then they've built them way up and now they've got retailers and maybe they've got people on the phone. So there's lots that you can look at through other reviews and online groups to see how that brand is doing. And there's lots of brands that are definitely coming up through the ranks, let's say, from that cheap rock bottom price point to becoming more of the moderate to expensive price point boards now as well. But remember, the more that there goes in, the more manufacturing, the more materials, the better quality materials, the more R&D, the more longer longevity, the warranty, it all makes a difference to the price. At the end of the day, you do get what you pay for, but if you can't afford a moderate or expensively priced paddleboard, but you really want to get into paddleboarding, I'm still going to encourage you to go for that rock bottom price point board, but do your research. Try and take what I've said in this video, look at the packages, understand around that board, see if you can find some information about that board before you choose that, because even at that rock bottom price point, there's still quite a few boards to choose from after all. But if you can, go for the more moderate price point boards with the better backing, better quality control, better customer service, better longevity, better warranties. And if you're getting more specialist and you are really trying to get into paddleboarding or certain disciplines, you've got to be looking at those more expensive board brands. Unfortunately, they just put more R&D, more design, more better constructions, better materials into that board in the first place, and you are going to get more out of it. So definitely that's another reason why you should go and buy a more expensive paddleboard. At SUPboarder, we're really happy to make these sort of videos to hopefully help you make the best buying decisions for you. If you've got any questions or comments, please get them in the comment section below. Check out SUPboarder Mag if you haven't already. There's loads of videos like this on there. But also, if you're mad keen on SUP and you can't get enough of it, get onto SUPboarder Pro as well. We also have an Ask the Expert section where you can email us as many questions about as many different boards and as many different queries as possible, and we'll always get back to answer you honestly and get you on the best kit. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on another SUPboarder video real soon.